Boker Tov, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Women's Torah Study class. A pleasure to see all of you. We're back on track, and I welcome your questions, your opinions, your ideas, your thoughts, so please join in. So today's Torah portion is Lech, and in this Torah portion, there's so much happening. So many exciting stories, but I just picked a few ideas and a few concepts that I feel resonates with me, like I always say, and I hope will resonate with you. And I want to start off with a very powerful theme that is very much represented in this week's Torah portion, and that's the concept of words, how we use words. You know, it says, Asara my marim nivra ha'olam, with 10 words, says the Kabbalah, the world was created. God said the 10 words, the 10 sfirot, the 10 emanations, and everything came into being. So we see from the beginning of time, words are very powerful. And the wording in the Torah, as we know from all of our other classes, so much gives us the insights, the meanings, the codes, the explanations, the lessons, all because of how it's worded in the Torah, all because of the analysis of the wording, the grammar, the placement, the choice of words, and so on. And we Americans are very big on words too. You know, there's 3 words Americans love to say. Wow. Oh, really? Big deal. Whenever you don't know what to say, you go, wow. Or you say, oh, really? And then we love to say, big deal. You think you did it, you had a killing on the stock market, big deal. You should see my killing on the stock market. Which reminds me of a joke. A Russian immigrant comes to America, comes to the United States, and he meets up with a charlatan, and he doesn't speak a word of English. The charlatan says to him, don't worry. Give me $1,000 and within a week you're going to speak English. And he teaches him 3 words. Wow, big deal. Oh, really? And the guy thinks now he's mastered the language. So words are very, very, very powerful. You know, words can make us, they can break us. You know, with one word, it's all over.
There's one, 2 words missing, and that is, you know.
Oh, you know.
You know. Every other half a sentence has, you know.
Okay, I'm going to add it to the joke, and you know.
And also, my rabbi gave a whole sermon about just saying, you know, whatever you say, then just saying, it's like a little disclaimer at the end of whatever you say.
Yeah, just saying, you don't have to listen to me, but I'm just saying, you know.
You know.
Oh, no. Yeah, so maybe there's more words missing from our vocabulary. But like, yeah. So there's one of the opening passages is, of course, the famous lines, and I'm going to read it to you because it's always so beautiful, where God says, Lech lecha, me'artzecha, me'moladetcha, me'beis avicha, ala eretz asher l're'echa. God tells Avram to take a journey. And we're going to go back to the journey. I always speak about the journey, but today I want to start with a different passage. And then God continues and tells Avraham, Ve'avarchecha mevarchecha. I will bless those who bless you. Mekalalecha or, and the ones who curse you, I will curse. V'nevarchecha b'cha kol mishpachas ha'adama. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed by you. So God says, I'm going to bless everyone who blesses you. And those who curse you, I will curse. And all the families of the world will be blessed by you. So now the commentaries jump in with a bunch of questions that I want to share with you. Look at the language. God says, I'll bless those who bless you. And then instead of continuing the same symmetry, God says, and those who curse you, I will curse. Why doesn't God say, just like in the beginning, I will bless those who bless you, I will curse those who curse you? Why does God change it around in the second part of the sentence? Good morning, Carrie. Boker Tov, welcome. So, or does God want to change it the other way? Say, those who bless you, I'll bless. Those who curse you, I will curse. Either or. And then the last part of the sentence is also a little bit extravagant. If you were not a believer, if you were just taking a Chumash, a Bible, a Torah, and just reading it, and you read the sentence, and all the families of the world will be blessed by you, isn't that a little bit of exaggeration? Avram was in northern Iraq. You mean to tell me all the families in Great Britain, France, United States, China are going to be blessed by Avram, who's living in North Iraq, near Israel somewhere? So how does God say, and so say, well, it's God saying it. So of course, if God says it, it's going to happen. But if you don't, if you kind of just read it as a sentence, it's a little bit ludicrous that the whole world will be blessed by Abraham's presence. Trump's presence, Mela, but Abraham's presence. It's just my joke. Okay, so let's go back to the wording. And then one more question. God says, those who bless you, I will bless those who bless you. And if you see, God uses the same root word. I will bless those who bless you. Same root word in Hebrew. But look at the curse. Which means, and those who curse you are, I will curse. Why doesn't God say, those who curse you, I'll curse, using the same root word, just like with the blessing. So in this one sentence, I have to tell you, comes, when I was reading this, I was so impacted by it, because in this one sentence, it defines such an interesting insight in how we bless and, God forbid, how we curse or insult. So let's start, like we love to do, is unfold the different layers. Start with the simple, go deeper, and then go even deeper, which is what the different commentaries do. And then, of course, Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, Hasidus, which really digs in really deep. So start with the simple explanation. God says, I will bless all those that bless you. And those who curse you, I will curse. So the Talmud explains a very beautiful insight, that when a person has a machshava tova, a good intention, a good thought to do something good, God already counts it like you did it. In other words, before you even bless anybody, before you even do the mitzvah, before you even do the good deed, God already counts it like you've done it if you thought about it. So let's say you think about, you know what? I'm going to go pledge $1,000 to this tzedakah. And you don't even write out the check. You didn't even go on the site and click donate yet. You already are given a mitzvah because you thought about doing it. And because the natural tendency of the soul is to do good, is to follow through on good, God counts it like it's good. So that's why God says, I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you, because they were already thinking of blessing you. Already I'm blessing them. I'm giving them the reward for the blessing. I'm giving them the reward for the mitzvah. Isn't that beautiful? That when you think about doing something good, God already counts it like you did it. You're thinking about visiting somebody who's ill. You're thinking about praying. You're thinking about creating a kosher meal. You're thinking about it. You didn't even cook yet. God says, done. She gets the mitzvah. He gets the mitzvah. Beautiful. But now with cursing, it's the opposite. God doesn't count thought as act. Let's say you think in your mind you're going to deceive someone. You think in your mind you're going to lie. You think in your mind you're going to cheat. You think in your mind you're going to do something wrong. But you don't do it yet. God doesn't say, he thought about it. She thought about it. They sinned. Negative. God waits. Thoughts with negativity don't count. if you act upon the negativity, if you act upon the sin, then God says, and those who curse you, I will curse. They acted upon it. They cursed you. Now they have to suffer the ramifications. So with goodness, the commentaries explain, even the thought is counted positively. But negativity, no, you have to act upon it. Because many times you think to yourself, oh, am I going to punch him in the nose? Oh, I'm going to get back at that guy. Revenge is so sweet, but you don't act upon it. It's not counted like a sin or a negative act. This is why the verbiage is changed, say the commentaries. Does anybody want to add anything to this before we go into the next layer of what this means?
It's so smart. It's just so brilliant.
God
And-
said it's good, no?
Yeah.
I like it.
Duh.
I have a brother who's really a brilliant speaker, but funny, entertaining, brilliant. And I'm amazed every time how when he gives classes, he gives like 10 classes a week, how he comes up with new ideas. He's unbelievable. So I was talking to him a few days ago. I said, Yitzchak, how many people compliment you? Do people always say, wow, Yitzchak, you're brilliant? He says, very few, because they take it for granted. Oh, he's speaking, of course. He's brilliant. He's a genius. He's so smart. But truth, he would love if people said, wow, you really are something. So Diane, God appreciates when we say, wow, God, that was such a good idea. People need a compliment. Even God wants a compliment from us. So very good. It's about time, Diane, someone realized God is great. We're always banging up on God. Say, God, look what you did. You got it all wrong. Leave us alone. So very good. So this was good. So now, let's go a little bit more deeper into this. So God says, I will bless those who bless you, and those who curse you, I will curse. How does a person learn how to bless? How does a person learn how to give a compliment? And how some people, they give a compliment, they give a thank you, it's sweet, it's loving, it's kind, you feel it. And some people, their compliments feel like curses. You lost 40 pounds, did you? You're going to gain it right back. I also was on one of those diets. Somehow that doesn't feel very complimentary. So the Torah is telling us the way we compliment, the way we bless is really a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. When someone comes over and says, wow, you look so pretty today, and they really mean it, and you feel they mean it, or they say, you're really something, and they give a compliment about something you did or something you said, it's because they personally are happy, content, feel good about themselves. The way we bless, the way we compliment is the way we really feel about ourselves. Where do we learn that? From our souls, from God. I will bless those who bless you. We learn how to bless from God, from our godly connection, from our soulful connection, from being content and happy with our existence, with our lives, with who we are. That's how we bless other people. It's a reflection of who you are. And those who curse you, I will curse. There's some people, even the compliments, like I just said, is not a compliment. Even when they compliment and bless you, you wonder. Like my mother said, we were at a wedding and a person came over and gave my mother was trying to talk to my mother, and my mother hid me behind her. I was a little girl. She said, stay away from that one. She's going to say you're beautiful, but she doesn't mean it. She's going to give an ein hara, evil eye. My mother tells me. I remember this distinctly. Not that we believe in evil eye, but a little bit of that this person doesn't have good intentions, right?
So is it like kind of wrapped up with the intention piece that you started off with, that if you're not having a good intention and like the person saying something that sounds nice, but really it's nasty, that's because they're not presenting it with good intentions.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's a way of putting it exactly. The tensions were not honorable,
No.
So yeah, so and also wording of people come from who they are. People who are fighting in a war, in prison, part of a gang, they create their own curses, their own lingo, their own way of expressing themselves. So that's why it says, I will bless those that bless you. And those that curse, I will curse, which is saying is the way we learn to bless is sometimes in our environment of who we are. Are we in the godly environment? I will bless those that bless you. Are you learning from God how to bless? Because God blesses first. You understand what it's saying here? I will bless those who bless. In other words, how do they know how to bless? By seeing how God blesses. Or are you the opposite? You're involved in your place that it's all about negativity, the strong arming, the cursing, war zones, gangbusters, people who are involved in a very criminal or negative or low down activities, the way they express themselves as a result of who they're with and the life they lead. So this is another insight, what it means when God says, I will bless those that bless you. In other words, the way the person blesses is a reflection of how God blesses, of how your connection is to your existence. Are you a person who has an existence built on the spiritual connection to your soul to God? Or are you a person who's disconnected? So the whole way you bless or curse is really from a whole different vantage point, where even the blessing is not such a blessing. Or you don't even know how to give a blessing because that's not your life. Is it clear? Is it kind of clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of some, maybe a little more abstract. And now finally, I from Chassidus, the most beautiful explanation that the word for cursing is umekalalecha, or God says. But God is, remember, not using the same root word. God says, and those who curse, those who curse you, or I will curse. So if you remember the initial question, why doesn't God just say, kalel, using the same root word? Those who curse you, I will curse. Why does God switch to a new word, or I will curse? So Chassidus explains something beautiful here. Or, which means of course to curse, but it also has the root word of light. What is your reaction when somebody comes and curses you, yells at you, abuses you verbally, lashes out at you? How should you react? Should you curse them back? Or should you react in a positive way? Love, compassion, light. Sometimes, or most of the times, people lash out. They're angry. They're unhappy. They had a misfortune in their lives. They had a tragedy. They're going through a terrible experience, illness, or whatever. Your reaction has to always be or with light, love. Always react to negativity with light as much as you can. Okay, it's a process. So God is saying, I will bless those who bless you. Those who curse you, what's your reaction? Should be or. React with light and love, compassion and understanding. That's how you react. There's a way the Torah is teaching us to react to people who are having a bad day. I remember I was at an event and a woman came over to me and she lashed out at me and one of my children was standing there. And whatever I said, some nice things to her, my daughter later said, nah, I would have not put up with that. Insult? I said, no. She wasn't insulting me. She was unhappy with what happened to her that day, whatever happened to her. I just happened to be the one she met up with. So I got the brunt of it. So sometimes you get the brunt of it, not because you're the responsible party, because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So God's saying when that happens to you, or compassion, empathy, goodness, that's how you react to someone who's having a moment of anger, cursing, lashing out. Like a child comes home from school, that had a terrible day, and you say, honey, you want a snack? I hate you, mommy. It's all your fault. I'm like, what did I do? You go, okay, I'm so sorry that you didn't have a good day. You want to tell me what happened? The child doesn't really mean you're a bad mother. They had a bad day, so you're the bad mother. This is what it means. React to moments of anger with, good morning, Khani, with love, with empathy, with compassion. With love. And again, it's a process, because our initial reaction is to be like, oh, what do I need this for? Go find yourself another punching bag. Or you could step up to the plate and become empathetic. My brother told me a very sad story that a young girl, a teenager, was going through some abuse and her parents didn't know. On her phone, she hated her parents, but she blamed them. So she called her father. How was his name, his contact information on the phone? Satan. Her mother's contact name on the phone, Satan's mistress. When they found out what happened and they took her to therapy, and she lashed out at her parents, abusive to them because of what she was doing. She finally changed. After years of therapy, she changed. Now her phone says mommy and daddy on their phone numbers. Now sometimes, and this is a very, very sad, terrible story, but sometimes exactly, we lash out, not because we're blaming really, we have no one else to lash out to. So we lash out, and the parents responded, of course, in a very wonderful, positive, loving way. And it took a while, but they turned it around. At times, this is the only response to the cursing, to the hateful acts or hateful behavior. You have to respond. Those who curse you or respond to them with light. That's what God is saying in the deepest way. So it's a very powerful insight. I'll tell you another funny story if you don't mind. So, let me tell you a story from the Talmud, much more better than a personal story. So Rabbi Yishmael, one of the famous scholars in the Torah, was walking, and a fellow notices him, this great Rebbe, this great teacher and leader. Rabbi Yishmael, I want to bless you. And he blesses him with every bracha in the world. Rabbi Yishmael looks at him, responds, just like it says in the Torah. Good. He keeps walking, and some Jew hater comes over and starts cursing him. You, rabbi, you, and, insulting him, cursing him out, and gesturing in a very negative way. Guy finishes, Rabbi Yishmael says, he says, just like it says in the Torah. So he goes back to his house, to his beis medrash, yeshiva, and the student said, Rebbe, we didn't understand. You got the same response to both? One blessed you, and you said, just like it says in the Torah. And one cursed you and insulted you, and you said to him also, just like it says in the Torah. How do you have the same response? He says, what do you mean? You don't know the pasuk in Lech, the passage? Those, I will bless those that bless you. That's the first guy. And the second guy, him I meant, those who curse you will be cursed. I will curse, he says. So I meant for each one had their part of the passage. The first one got the blessing part, and the second one said, just like in the Torah, you cursed me, now you'll be cursed. So his students understood what he meant. So this was his response. Very beautiful, very diplomatic, and very intelligent, if you have to say, right? So this is what the Torah is teaching us. Now, let's analyze how God could tell Abraham that the whole world will be blessed through him. And we're all generations, God meant. Not only that year, that time. Not only is it going to be on the front page of People magazine that year. It's going to be forever. Now you have to think about, let's talk a little bit about Avram and Sarah. Did they have an army? No. Did they have an empire? No. Did they have a kingdom? No. Did Abraham walk around prophesizing like the prophets? No. Did he perform miracles every day? No. So how could God say, Abraham, it will bless the entire world for eternity? Everyone is going to be blessed through Abraham. Think about it for a minute. Maybe somebody here has an interesting idea of what God is saying here.
Well, when the Jews populate the world, they will be a light unto the nations. Or, I mean, and even now we say, if a country treats its Jews right, it'll prosper. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Exactly. Margaret, you can take over the class. This is exactly what Hasidus explains. Okay, let's look at this in a modern day view. Half of the world is who? What religions? Who knows? Half of the world. Islam,
Buddhism,
Christianity, and even Jews are. So half of the world wakes up every day and says, listen, we are the heirs of Abraham. That's why the Arab countries feel Israel and all the holy places belongs to them. They go, 1 minute, we're the heirs of Abraham. So they're walking around till this very day saying they own everything that Abraham owned. That's their whole argument. They are the heirs of Abraham, even though they're not. So you have half of the world walking around saying, we are the heirs to Abraham. So right there and then you have the answer. They're still declaring Abraham is their forefather. Now let's go even deeper. Like Margaret said, how do you know if a country is a ethical, moral, great place? Look of how they treat the descendants of Abraham.
Mhm.
If Jews are treated properly, with respect, with dignity, equality, you know the country, the society is a healthy, moral, ethical society.
Mhm.
Germany, the Spanish Inquisition, all the countries that over the years persecuted Jews, killed Jews, burned Jews, annihilated Jews, Nebuch. What happened after they did the Jews? They started on the next group of their own people, beheading their own women, taking away the right. There's no such a thing as a country only discriminates against Jews. Every country, if you look at history, started off with the Jews as their scapegoats and went to the next level. Either it was the women, or it was this group of people, or that group of people, or the people who didn't do what they said, did what they wanted.
Yeah, we're the canaries in the coal mine.
Exactly, the canary in the
I
coal
was
mine.
just thinking of.
So this is what God is saying. God is saying like this, that all the families of the earth shall be blessed by you. In other words, if a country, if a society treats the descendants of Abraham, and Isaac, Yitzchak, which is us, properly, morally, ethically, with equality, then that country is a country and a society that is a moral, ethical, proper country and society. That's what Hashem is saying. That ever understands how to treat its citizens, that's the kind of the society that we will be blessed in a sense. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. So is that clear in a sense?
Mhm.
So this is what God is saying, that whenever you have a society that treated Jews with the proper dignity, respect, like all their other citizens, the country remained whole, sane, ethical, and moral for everyone. Look what happened now in Afghanistan. Do we even need to look back in the Torah? Look at Afghanistan. The minute the Americans pulled out, they're back to beheading, chopping off limbs, the atrocities that they're doing against their own people. And they're the same country that says Jews have no right to exist. It all started with that. 9/11. Everyone said the terrorist is an Israel problem. It's a problem of Zionism. It's the Jewish problem. It's the Jewish issue. It's their fault. If Israel did this and Israel did that, if the Zionists did this, if the Zionists did that, they wouldn't have suicide bombers. They wouldn't be getting bombs every day. Then look what happens. We tolerated it in Israel. They came over the border and they did the heinous 9/11, killing thousands and thousands, destroying, built, the 9/11. Can't even go into we don't have to go into the details. The horrendous 9/11. Until this very day, we still feel the effects. All because we didn't recognize that it was not a Jewish problem. It was a universal problem of people who do not value human life. Mm-hmm. So this is what God is saying to Abraham. All the nations all the families of the world will be blessed by you. That the blessing comes when you follow, again, the dignity, moral, and ethical values that the world was built on. And the 7 Noahide laws for the universal Noahide laws for all humanity, which isn't a Jewish thing, it's a human thing. The 7 Noahide laws. Dora, you want to say something?
No, I'm okay.
So this is what God is what God is saying to Moshe. To Abraham. Wow. So to sum up, this is in this one passage how we bless. Again, to repeat, I will bless those who bless you, and those who curse you, I will curse. And the whole world will be blessed by you for eternity. And we see this to this very day, how Abraham and the legacy of Abraham and Sarah live on to this very day. Who they are, monotheistes and believe in one God, all started with them. And that's why Noah is not the first Jew, Abraham is. So though Noah believed in God and himself was righteous, who went onto the ark? Him, his wife, and his 3 sons, and all the animals. He didn't make one Baal Tshuva. He didn't have one stranger in the ark. He wasn't able in those years and years of building the ark, he wasn't able to influence one other person because that's not who he was. So he was righteous. His wife was righteous. His sons were righteous. But no one else came into the ark because no one else was impacted by his righteousness. Look at Avram and Sarah. They leave Haran, right? His birthplace. And it's Rashi says, and he took with him people who? All the souls, all the people who were influenced by him. Balei Tshuva it's called. Who were influenced by Avram and Sarah and Haran, said, wow, this guy is right. We shouldn't worship idolatry. We're going to go with him. We're becoming his disciples, his followers. Whereas Noah, only him and his wife and children ended up on the ark. They didn't impact society. Avram and Sarah, wherever they went, they impacted people. People followed them, went to their classes, listened to their lectures on Zoom and so on. Their impact was monumental, where Noah didn't. So that's why Avram and Sarah become the first matriarch and patriarch. Not because Noah wasn't good, but because Noah had a different approach in life. I'll be righteous, I'll be great. But, sorry, I have to plug in. I'll be righteous, I'll be great. But, sorry, I have a little iPad issue here. Give me a second. Can you see me? Okay, I'll be righteous and I'll be great, but I'm not sure that I can impact anybody else. Avram and Sarah, they begin to revolutionize society wherever they go. With their open home, with their approach, with their leadership and so on. Okay, so now I want to go into a very sad story towards the middle of the Torah portion, and then we'll go back to the concept of the journeys. So Avram and Sarah are now in Canaan, in Israel, and there's a hunger. And they travel down to Egypt to buy food. There's a very big problem, though, that the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, is known that if there's a beautiful woman who comes to visit his country, he takes them into his harem. Sarah is known to be beautiful. What's going to happen? They're going to come down to Egypt, and Paro is going to abduct her, kill Abraham, and abduct Sarah and take him into his harem. He's always looking for a pretty woman. So it's a very big problem. What are they going to do? Now, before I explain what happens in the story, I want to say that everything that the matriarchs and patriarchs did, as we discussed in previous lessons, it was a roadway for all generations. Maisa Ava Simila Bani. The people who cut through the jungle and created the bridges and the pathways and the highways and the wells and the water system and the electrical lines. For all future, we all have our power lines, our waterways, our wells. What the patriarchs and patriarchs did spiritually was they paved the way for all generations to overcome these challenges in life, these similar challenges. So by them doing certain things, this created for us the ability to cut through, to walk the path without having to cut through the jungle, so to speak. For example, let me just use a simple example. Your parents created a huge empire with a lot of money. Now you don't have to work as hard. Your parents set the foundation, the company was built. Now, when you inherit the company, you will just have to build on what they built. This is similar to what the matriarchs and patriarchs did. They cut through the spiritual rubble, the spiritual jungles, so that when we encounter a similar challenge, we have it much easier because they already created a pathway for us to overcome these challenges. Mm-hmm. So now let's continue the story and see. I just need to fix my iPad for 1 second. I had a little bit of a collapse here. 1 second. So now, why did Avram and Sarah have to go down to Egypt to buy food? The answer is because who would be going down to Egypt next generations later?
Jacob.
Joseph.
Joseph, and then Jacob, and the 12 tribes would be living, and then we would become slaves, and then we would have to go out of Egypt. And how did we go out of Egypt? With Moses, with tremendous wealth. So Maisa Avasim and Labanim, let's see what happens, how this story paves the way that generations later, the Jewish people are able to go into Egypt and leave Egypt wealthy and whole. So Avram goes down with Sarah. He knows she's beautiful. He knows what's going to happen. So this is what happens. I want to read the story inside because it's very beautiful. A little sad, but also not so sad, but not a little bit sad maybe. And so it happened. Oh, so they're going down. So he says to his wife, please say that you are my sister, so they will favor me because of you, and my life will be spared thanks to you. So Avram says to Sarah, let's tell everyone that we're not husband and wife. Why? If I tell them I'm your husband, what's going to happen?
They're going to take her.
And what happens to him?
He'll be killed.
He'll be
They
killed.
kill him.
Yeah.
Because in their crazy, perverted way of thinking, listen to this, is why do they need to kill him? Abducting a woman is a sin, whether she's married or not. And taking her without permission, without her willfully wanting to come and being with you, defiling her is just a great sin, as you know. So why kill the husband? Just take the wife. But sorry, go ahead.
Revenge. They don't want anybody to ever come back and seek revenge.
Possibly, but also in their mind, it was less of a sin to take her if she has no husband, even though they're abducting her and defiling her against her will. In their mind, that was okay as long as she's not married. She's a single woman now. I'm allowed to take her as my mistress, my wife, in my harem. See how they thought? In their crazy mind, it was okay as long as you kill the husband. So one sin is better than every night. When you're with her, it would be a continuous sin because she's still married. So in their mind, it's better to kill him once so that you don't feel guilty every time you're defiling the woman. This is how the Egyptians thought, and Avram knew how they thought. So Avram says to Sarah, tell them you're my sister. Then at least I won't be killed. Now think about this statement for a minute. The commentaries all jump in. It's a little, really? That she's taken is okay, as long as you stay alive.
Yeah.
So what is happening here? Who would like to offer some insight? How could Avram say to her, okay, tell them at least I won't be killed. Is this a solution? At least you won't be killed, but what about what she's gonna have to go through now? He's not gonna just leave her alone. He's gonna defile her.
And why not just leave her? Why have her enter Egypt at all? You know,
You mean
go
why
get
go
the
together
food. Go get the food and come back. You know.
and leave her alone?
Yeah.
So that goes back to Maisa of a similar Banim, that they both had to go down. They both had to go down to Egypt in order to create the pathway, says the Zohar, the Kabbalah, for future generations.
Maybe,
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe as a sister, it's a negotiation piece instead of a ownership. Like it's like maybe they would try to kiss up to him and negotiate with him to get the sister, as opposed to killing him to get the wife.
Very good. They might say to him, listen, you have a beautiful sister. Can we take her to the king? Okay, good. So there might be some negotiation in the process, but end result, didn't Avram know that no matter what way that she would be taken and he would defile her? He would want to defile her. He knew that, right? I mean, do we all agree on that?
Yes.
That no matter, like they say, prolonging the agony, it was inevitable. No matter what approach he did. Okay, so if he doesn't say he's a brother, they'll kill him and take her. If he says he's a brother, they're still gonna take her because she's beautiful. At least he's alive. So that's a simple answer. At least Avram is alive now. But there's much, much more to that. Again, a few layers. So analysis is Abraham saw an angel accompanying Sarah. Sarah was so holy, so special, that wherever Sarah went, there was an angel that accompanied her. Avram, being Avram, saw the angel. He saw an angel walking with her. You couldn't see the angel. Avram saw the angel. No one else could see the angel. He knew that nothing would ever happen to Sarah because wherever she went, God provided a guardian angel. And we're not saying this metaphorically, a guardian angel, which only Avram saw, because an angel is invisible. So Avram knew nothing's going to happen to Sarah. Avram knew that Sarah was on a higher spiritual plateau than him, on a much higher level than him. So he said, I'm not protected. I don't have a guardian angel. So if I don't say I'm her brother, they'll kill me. No one's going to save me. And he didn't want to rely on a miracle where he'd say, well, of course God is going to save me. Didn't God promise that the children will come from me? The next generation will come from me. So Avram didn't want to rely on a miracle. You don't rely on miracles. You don't run in front of a car and say, oh yeah, God said the next generation is going to come from me. Let me just go into this. So he made a plan. He said to Sarah, say you're my sister. I'll remain alive. And it'll be like that. And sure enough, exactly what happens. Look what happens. So he comes to the border. They see Sarah. He says, she's my sister. And they abduct her. They take her. Now she goes into the palace and King Paro tries to take her, defile her. And the angel, she says to the angel, do something. And he creates a plague. And the entire palace and surrounding, there's a tremendous plague. They can't move out of their beds. And they realize what's going on here. They're not foolish. They realize. So they let her go. and they give Avram and Sarah tremendous, tremendous wealth. And they go back to Israel with the money and with the wealth. Look what happens in next generations. The Jewish people come to Egypt. They're forced into slavery. And how do they leave? With tremendous wealth.
How did they have the wealth when they left?
Pardon?
How did they have the wealth from when they left?
I'll tell you how. When God created the plague of darkness, Moses told them to go into the houses of the Egyptians and take back the money that was stolen from them and owed to them. So they went into the houses of treasures and they took what was owed to them and the treasures. And then when Pharaoh and his men drowned in the Red Sea, remember, by the splitting of the sea, the Torah says that the ocean spit out all the wealth from them that they had carried with them. So they had double wealth. So when they left Egypt, the entire nation was wealthy. Again, because of what Avram and Sarah did, paving the way for future generations. That's why Avram is tested 10 times. What God didn't believe, Avram, the first time he passed the test, the second test. But again, every test was cutting out the pathway for future generation. So when Avram was willing to sacrifice his son, which was the final test, remember God says, take your one and only son and bring him on the altar, and Abraham is willing to do it.
Mhm.
This, Kabbalah explains, this paved the way that for all generations, the Jewish people, when walking into a gas chamber, when being persecuted in the Spanish Inquisition, the thousands of stories, how the Jews went in saying, Ani ma'amin b'emunah shalem b'bevias HaMashiach. I believe in God. I believe in the coming of Mashiach. Because Avram and Sarah, thousands of years before, were willing to sacrifice their son. The self-sacrifice that Avram and Sarah had is not just something great they did in their time. Okay, very beautiful. Avram was thrown into the fire, remember in Haran, because he refused to acquiesce and say, I don't believe in God. I believe in idolatry. They said, either you believe in idolatry or we throw you in the fire. They threw him in the fire. And when they opened up the furnace to take out the bones and the ashes, they see him walking back and forth like he's in a garden. That self-sacrifice of not willing to give up your belief in God is the self-sacrifice gene that was given to us generations and generations later. So the matriarchs and patriarchs are not simple people you read about. It's a beautiful story. Yeah, look at their self-sacrifice. Whoopee, wow. It created an energy and a gene for a DNA in all of us for all generations. You inherited your blue eyes from Bubba. You inherited your chubby cheeks from Zayda. And you inherited your ability for self-sacrifice from Abraham and Sarah. The spiritual energy they created is transferred from generation to generation. That's why we're able to do it. We're standing on the shoulders, not to be cliche, but we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We didn't have to cut through the jungle. Avram and Sarah and the next matriarchs and patriarchs were the ones that paved the way for us for this very day to be able to do what we do. And now I want to share a beautiful insight from the Zohar on what happens here. What happens here is really a prototype in marriage and relationships. The word Mitzrayim comes from the word limited, confined. Sometimes in a marriage, you encounter in Egypt, the Mitzrayim. You're feeling constrained in the marriage. You're feeling limited in the marriage. You're feeling unhappy in the marriage. You're in a Mitzrayim. You're feeling constricted in your relationship. Avram and Sarah, says the Zohar, were going through a relationship crisis. Disconnected. They're coming to an Egypt, a place where they don't know where to go. The relationship is floundering. It's not growing. It's not like it was in the beginning. So Avram says to Sarah, what are we going to do? How are we going to get back to where we were when we first met? Become my sister and I'll be your brother. And hopefully we'll later on we get back to where we're meant to be. And that's what happens. She says, I'm your sister. He says, their brother. And then they leave with tremendous wealth. The marriage comes back to the passion and love and energy it had at the very beginning. What does this mean? A brother and sister relationship is not a husband and wife relationship. A husband and wife relationship is you met each other, you fell in love, two people from two different sides of the universe, perhaps, not blood relatives, thank God, and you meet and you decide to build a life together. A brother and sister relation, and then sometimes you get divorced, God forbid. It doesn't work out. You're disconnected so much, you can't stay together. But there's no blood binding you because you're not brother and sister in a sense. Now, a brother and a sister relationship is a whole different thing. You're born from the same parents, whether you like it or not. You can't choose your relatives, right? And achot, sister, by the way, means not. You're knotted together because you're coming from the same parents. So there's a knot. You're knotted together with your brother, with your sister. Now, middle of the night, you call your brother. You said, Yitzhak, I have a flat tire. Could you come get me? I'm on the I-95. He's in Spring Valley. It's 3:00 in the morning. He's exhausted. He has to be at work tomorrow at 6 a.m. He pulls himself out of bed. He loves me, but he's not like enthralled with me. He's not passionately, I'm not his wife. But my sister called, he tells his wife, let me go get her. He goes, he picks me up, we change the tire, and that's good. So the connection there is not because, wow, passion, it's a connection of a brother and a sister. A connection that even when you're in Europe and he's in the United States, you're bound by the fact you're born from the same parents, and there's an unexplainable connection. It's just there because brother and sister, sister and brother, sister and sister, brother and brother. I remember by Shiva, when my father passed away, the most beautiful part of the Shiva was the bonding with my siblings. Because when did we get stuck together for 6 days and 6 nights where we couldn't leave because we had to sit Shiva together in one house? It was amazing. On one hand, of course, it's so sad I lost my father, but on the other hand, there was a certain beautiful reconnection between my brothers and my sister. So that's brother and sister. There's no passion. You can't wake up, oh, wow, I can't wait to kiss my brother. I can't wait to kiss my sister. No, it's a whole different love. But it's a love that stays and stays. So when the relationship, Avram felt and Sarah felt the disconnect in the passion, in the love, in the intimacy that they had when they got married, Avram says to Sarah, there's still though a connection. Like, let's go back to a smaller type of a connection, a less passionate connection. Let's cruise along now, like brother and sister. We love each other, but there's no maybe passion right now. Let's cruise along and work it out. But let's not disconnect because that wouldn't be what we want because we still have it. So they come to a Mitzrayim, a place of disconnect, a place of limitation, of constriction. And they now take on a brother and sister relationship. It's cooled down. There's no passion. They cruise along until they find the wealth and they come back to where they were meant to be. So this, based on the Zohar analysis, is also on a very deep level, a story about a relationship crisis and how to get back to where you're meant to be. Sometimes, you're not going to have that fire, that passion. So cruise along a little bit, work it out. And then eventually you will get back to the wealth because it's there. The reservoir of wealth is there. Now, we're not talking about a relationship that has no hope, abusive or horrible or terrible or hateful. This is when sometimes things cool down a bit. Everybody goes through it. Some people go through it for a day. Some people go through it for a month. Some people go through a little longer. But you know that something is there. So this is what in a deeper level is the story of Avram and Sarah. So Avram and Sarah, again, are not just people that God is talking about, nice story, they are prototypes for all generations of how we live our lives. Avram and Sarah, I'm going to conclude with that, had the most beautiful relationship, by the way, a partnership like none other. When they brought people into their tent, remember they had this huge, massive tent that brought guests from all over. And we're not talking a tent the size of a football field. We're not talking about a little baby tent here. It says, Abraham taught the men, Sarah taught the women. Avram runs to prepare the meat on the grill, and Sarah is making the cakes. He didn't say, oh, go, Sarah, you cook the food while I entertain the guests and talk to them about monotheism. It was a partnership. He cooked, she cooked. He taught, she taught. He influenced, she influenced. And when there's a debate about what to do about their son Ishmael, God says to Avram, listen to her. Tishma l'koila. She knows better. Now, every time I have an argument with my husband, I tell him, remember what God said to Sarah? Remember that? I said, it goes both ways. If you're the rabbi, Tishma l'koila, listen to me. I also know how to use the Torah as a little weapon over there. Anyway, so, and when they got to Egypt, what does Avram see? That an angel accompanies his wife, not him. She has a guardian angel wherever she goes. He knew that she was on a higher spiritual and holy level than him. He acknowledges it. He uses it. He says to himself, she won't be killed. Look what she has. She has a guard, a personal bodyguard. Me, I have nothing. I need to use my wits to save myself. I need to say I'm a brother. Her, she has the guardian. And sure enough, the angel caused the plague. No one could touch her. So you see that the story here about Avram and Sarah, their self-sacrifice, how they interacted with each other in their marriage and relationship is for all generations. Teaches us life skills, marriage skills, people skills, all kinds of things. And that's why they're the matriarchs and the patriarchs, because everything they did, the 4 matriarchs and the 3 patriarchs, is for all generations. And the stories are put in there not to make them look bad, but to show us real life. Real life, not to create a book like The Red Tent. See, they were also normal. They were also terrible. No, no, no. What Avram and Sarah did always had holiness and spirituality and intent and God's direction. We can't equate them with someone like me and you, or I can't say you, me, a plain person. They were special people. And they lived a real life. Heartbreak, sadness, abduction, hunger, pain. Avram didn't know when they threw him in the fire, he's going to be rescued. He thought, this is it. They're going to kill me. I believe in God. They don't like it. They're going to kill me now. And then he got saved. He didn't know God was going to save him. He didn't know that God was going to say, don't bring your son as an offering. Bring a ram instead. Abraham stepped up to the plate every single time, not knowing what's going to happen. So here we see that these were very special people. And that it is their lives that teach us how to live our lives. Like even if I take 1 ounce of their marriage counseling, Avram and Sarah, I'll be okay. Because the respect Avram had for Sarah. So that's why I tell people that say feminism is lauded in the Torah. Women are exalted in the Torah, lauded, respected. It is society that changed things around and created a hierarchy. Men are greater, get better salaries. If you look in the stories of the Torah, Sarah made more money than Avram, maybe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is a metaphor, theoretically speaking. God always put women higher. It's society that warped the perception of what a man is and a woman is. But in Torah, how God set up the universe, women are superior and definitely equal. If you don't like superiority, equal to men. There's no such a thing as oh, he's better, she's better. Adam and Chava were created as one person, remember? And split, soulmates, split in half. So no one was created before the other, and so on and so forth. So to sum up, we have here in this two little stories, I couldn't even get into the journey of the lessons of life, how to compliment, how to bless, like sometimes even when somebody insults you, there's sometimes so many kind people that even when they give you critique, they feels good because it comes from a good place. So how do you critique? How do you bless from a good place? If you're in a bad mood, don't give a blessing because you know what happens. It might not turn out as nice. And that at times when things are not exactly as passionate as they should be, go back to a reservoir of a connection that may not be the passionate connection, but there's still an unbroken connection between you and your spouse, the connection of what we call the brother-sister connection, until you can get back on track. Until you can get back on track. So how do you sum up that? I always look at Abram and Sarah as like the first couple, like the first couple, how we like to see what they wore and what handbag she stepped out with, but in a spiritual way. So to me personally, when I read this Torah portion, I always think I want to be a little bit like Sarah, a little bit more of a Sarah type, a better wife, a better partner, better person, better role model. That's to me when I read these stories. And you know what? I think each and every one of us has a guardian angel, because the Torah says, the Kabbalah explains that when you do something good, every time you do an act of goodness, you create angels that accompany you through life. So sometimes, you think you're hearing an angel whisper into your ear or something, like you're feeling a wind blowing, or you feel a breath in your ear, that is your guardian angel. And God forbid, when you do negative things, it creates angels that create blockages in our path. So based on Kabbalah. So the more good we do, the more we have the guardian angels that accompany us. And I'm not going to say anybody does, God forbid, bad, but if you do, sometimes those are the angels that come and they put roadblocks in your path. So each and every one of us definitely has these guardian angels that, like somebody here told me once, I felt I was saved by something. Yes, you were. So I'd love to hear a little feedback from all of you, please.